Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Here at this week's episode of our non-budget version, we're going to go back to a Scred Red build and actually drop the Scred. So this isn't going to be a Scred Red, this is going to be a Red-White control, and it's been doing very well. I went 7-1 with this the other day. I was using Scred and Scrying Sheets, but after talking to Morton, who is kind of the expert at Scred, we decided that Scred and Scrying Sheets were not very good in this particular deck, because what was happening is you'd want a snow-covered permanent for Scred and Scrying Sheets, but you definitely want a mountain with Koth and the Hammer. So we're kind of wondering if that's the right route to go with the Clifftop Retreats now, as Koth actually has 6 lands in here that do not work with his -2 ability or untapping them. A lot of times you only need 1 mountain, but the -5 is your most likely win condition with this deck. And then if you have like 2 Clifftop Retreats out and you ultimate with Koth, it might actually not be as big of a win condition as you might think. So we're trying to figure out the exact list to be able to hit our Path to Exiles on time, be able to hit the Lightning Helixes and Ajanis, and then also have a way to cast these Kor Firewalkers out of the sideboard. So the advantages of this list over the Scred Red is that it gives you a lot better matchup versus Burn with the Lightning Helixes and the access of Kor Firewalker. Path to Exile, I would say, is just as powerful as Scred, if not more, for certain matchups. Scred was plenty powerful. It usually did kill any creature on time, even Tassigurs and Deceiver Exarchs. But I think Path to Exile is a little more consistent. The one problem with Path to Exile that we've run into so far is that Path to Exile and Blood Moon are not very synergistic. They call this a non-bow because it's kind of killing your combo. It's like the exact opposite of a combo. Path to Exile lets them get a basic land. The basic land can now no longer be you can't shut them or lock them out with Blood Moon. But I don't know if it's going to be that big of a deal, because most of the matchups where you like Blood Moon, that Path to Exiles can be sided out anyway. So again, we're going to have to decide if Path goes over to the sideboard. The advantage, though, is you do get these Lightning Helixes, which kind of feel like Screds in a way. And Lightning Helix is just such a powerful card right now. In just resolving one of these against Burn, a lot of the times allows you just to stabilize and then get out a Batterskull or a Wurmcoil Engine. And then it also gives you another way with Chandra's Phoenix. So Chandra's Phoenix is so powerful in this deck, as you can get it back with Lightning Bolt, you can get it back with Lightning Helix, you can get it back with Ajani, with Chandra Pyromaster, and then in the sideboard, even Molten Rain can get back your Chandra's Phoenix, and even Volcanic Fallouts can get back your Chandra's Phoenix. So it's a pretty solid card to get in there for. You'd be surprised at how many times this deck actually just burns out your opponent. But the main win condition still is by resolving one of your later game threats, being a Stormbreath Dragon, a Batterskull, or a Wurmcoil Engine, or just winning off of an Ajani lock or a Koth of the Hammer lock. So Koth ults, there's very few times a person can get back from a Koth ult, and you can get the Koth ult out as like you do a turn 3 Koth, untap a mountain. That's on turn 3. Turn 4, you untap another mountain. So turn 5, you can ultimate Koth. More likely it's going to be turn 6. And you just get a lot of value out of Koth the Hammer. Again, you're going to be putting out a 4/4 red elemental creature and then attacking in for 4 damage that turn. And again, you'd be very surprised when the amount of times you either just burn out your opponent, as it's Koth gets in there for 8 a lot of times before getting dealt with. And the burn matchups or any aggro matchups, then they have to decide if they want to attack into Koth. And it really creates a mess of a situation for them, because you just get so much value out of it. And the same can go for Ajani. Ajani's cool because he's one of the few planeswalkers who can actually protect himself. And this tap target permanent doesn't untap is very solid, especially with Blood Moons. And as soon as you get Ajani up to -7, destroying all lands is a win con. So a lot of times the American or Jeskai control decks, what they do is they use Ajani as their win condition. So it's Celestial Colonnades and Ajani Vengeant. I mean, it's that powerful of a card in Modern. Wurmcoil is very powerful. We all know it from Tron. And Batterskull is incredibly powerful in this control type list. And Stormbreaths are surprisingly powerful. It cannot be Abrupt Decayed, cannot be Lightning Bolted, cannot be Path to Exiled. And well, I mean, it can be lightning bolted, but the whole thing with this so cool about Stormbreath Dragon is it dodges most of the removal, in especially the most efficient removal in the form of Path to Exile. So the pro white can block can block Siege Rhinos all day long, and you don't have to worry about. You actually absorb all the 4 from Trample, and it still survives. And so you can use Stormbreath Dragon as kind of like a defensive creature, but a lot of times with Koth and Hammer and plenty of mountains out, you can get up to the 7 monstrosity quite easily, and have Stormbreath Dragon be a 7/7, do usually 2 to 3 damage to your opponent right there, and then swing in for 7. Now it is going to be a little bit harder with this matchup with the less amount of mountains. This is still, we are messing around with Clifftop Retreats. They might not want to be a 4 of, and I could go into more Bloodstained Mires to just tutor up the necessary Sacred Foundries. And I might just do that. I think maybe the 4 of Clifftop Retreats is a bit of an overkill, a bit of a stretch here for the white sources. The problem is with Bloodstained Mires is they're going to be doing a damage. And even though we're gaining life through Lightning Helix and like Ajani's Vengeant, and our sideboard does have ways to gain life, we don't want to shock fetch too much with this deck right off the bat versus burn. And Clifftop Retreat does allow us to have both sources of mana. So we'll mess around with it. This might need to be more Bloodstained Mires instead of the Clifftop Retreats. Onto the sideboard, we will... Oh, another advantage to the Scred, or this kind of list, is the 4 main-boarded Relic of Progenitus that usually cycle themselves. So through Mindstones and Relics, and I have cut the Pirate Spell Bombs, and I'm thinking about going down to 2 pass and then going just another Pirate Spell Bomb. Pirate Spell Bomb is nice because it gets rid of anything with protection from red. It gets rid of your opponent's Kor Firewalkers. It can be kind of a pain. We'd have Path to Exiles that can get rid of them, so that's why I've decided not to use Pirate Spell Bombs. But the cool thing about Pirate Spell Bombs is another damage-based spell that can actually be cycled if you don't need it. So the deck is very efficient just going through a lot of cards. Relic of Progenitus plays that same role, and what's cool about Relic is it's just got mainboard hate versus Delver, like Grixis Delver, Grixis Twin, Cruel Control, as they do use their graveyard with Tasigur and the Snapcaster Mage. And so you have Relics kind of shut them down in that aspect. And then Relics are incredibly good versus any sort of graveyard-based strategy. Now, the Modern Festival is actually taken down by Vengevine, and Vengevine completely folds to a Relic of Progenitus. Relic of Progenitus are great versus Storm. Storm is on the rise again. You'd be surprised at how many decks actually utilize their graveyard, if not fully, at least a little bit, through cards like Bluetron tries to get back cards out of their graveyard through Academy Ruins. You have Lingering Souls that try to get back, flash back a Lingering Souls. And Relic is just value. You draw a card, each player exiles their graveyard, and no harm to your deck. The only thing is it's a 2-mana investment, which isn't bad at all. It can actually shut down Goyf pretty well, which makes Goyf able to get Lightning Bolt or Lightning Helix or even Volcanic Fallout. And it's just this solid deck. This deck preys on unfair decks that Blood Moon, Relic, and a few other cards can just hate out. The Volcanic Fallouts actually make it really good versus any sort of Anafenzen Company strategy or Elves or anything like Affinity that tries to flood out the board. Volcanic Fallout is going to be very good against. The one matchup that we are completely open to that you're just going to have to chalk up to a loss is going to be Boggles, but since we are in white, it does give us access to Tempest of Light or Celestial Flare. If we decide the Boggles is that big of a deal, then we can put those in the sideboard and have a way to deal with Boggles. I also thought of like Terminus as a one-of in the sideboard, as this also does effectively deal with the problem of Boggles. So you can Miracle this quite easily, but it's 6 mana, which isn't too hard to get off in this particular deck. 6 mana is your Wurmcoil Engine. I don't know if you could quite race Boggles, but we do have access to that if we so choose. And it doesn't hurt our deck much because we're using a whopping 5 creatures in this deck. So again try this out. I'll try out a Terminus in the sideboard if we need to, if we're going up against a lot of creature-based decks. And then a Miracle off the top is huge with Terminus. I mean, we won't have any ways to really manipulate our library to find Terminus off the top, but you can do like Relic of Progenitus, draw a card, Mind Stone, draw a card, instant speed, both of them, and then on their turn be able to use a Terminus. So maybe we'll try one. Just for fun here. Other than the 2 mana is kind of iffy, but we'll have access to that. We'll keep that on the forefront of cards that we can use if Boggles again is a problem. So what we have in the sideboard here, we have 2 Kor Firewalkers and 2 Dragon's Claws. Basically, the Dragon's Claws and the Kor Firewalkers allow us to have a pretty decent matchup versus Burn. You drop either one of these versus Burn, and between these and the Lightning Helixes, you're in very good shape. Rending Volleys are in here for the Twin matchup. A lot of times when Twin actually even sees a Rending Volley, they'll side out the combo. We also have Wear Tear for the Twin combo, or Wear Tear is just such an efficient card in Modern right now. You can destroy... Almost every deck is either going to have an enchantment or an artifact, so these are most likely going to come in a lot. And now we have the Boil is very good against Grixis, Twin again against Rug Twin. It's good against Merfolk. It's good against a number of decks that use a lot of islands. Anything that uses Cryptic Command, Boil is very good against. And then we have Molten Rains. These are mainly hate for Tron. I actually bring in Molten Rains versus Creeping Tar Pits versus Celestial Colonnades. I think this is a very, very good card. Against any sort of more of the control-based matchup, what you're going to bring out is like Volcanic Fallouts. And you have to have enough cards to side in with the cards you're going to side out. So like cards like Volcanic Fallouts come out, and Path to Exiles come out, and then you bring in like Molten Rains, and then Sowing Salt. Sowing Salt's incredibly good versus Tron. It shuts them out completely. They can't get it. If you go turn 3 Sowing Salt through the Mind Stones, then you can a lot of times race the Tron, and you get rid of their Tron combo completely. You name their towers, and or whatever one they don't have out yet, and they can't assemble the Tron. And the Molten Rain's good against that as well. So Fulminator Mage was something that I thought about using, but Fulminator Mage is really, I think, not. And Molten Rain just has a lot more synergy with Chandra's Phoenix. Plus, it is sorcery speed. You don't have to sacrifice it. It's just a really good card. Be looking for Fulminator Mage, though. Like, a lot of people have talked about the new Liliana, and I think Fulminator Mage is one of the best ways. So if you haven't picked up your Fulminator Mage, I think that picking up a place of these is really smart right now, with all the Tron decks and everything else. And if the new Liliana is everything that everyone's hyped out to be for Modern, then Fulminator Mage, I think, is the most reliable way to be able to flip Liliana. But Liliana's kind of awkward at the 3 mana, but she is very powerful in Modern if you can get her to flip over. I wish I could show you a version right now, but it's not. Origins isn't quite out on MTGO. So anywho, kind of rambled on a little bit long for deck tech. I think everything else is pretty much self-explanatory for Scred, but this is the deck that, after my terrible time at the Modern Festival, playing its control, Tron, this is my go-to deck at the moment. I've had a lot of success with it. Soul Sisters right now, with Burn on the down. A lot of Burn decks. A lot of people not playing Burn anymore. A lot of people not playing a lot of creature-based strategies, going over to more control. A lot more Tron being played than we used to see. I think it's a great time to play kind of this red-white or even the mono-red Scred version is the way to go. But this is kind of my upgraded version to the mono-red Scred we saw a couple months ago. We'll play it out, see how well Ajani actually ends up being. I mean, this is the whole point playing the deck is Ajani Vengeant. So I'm going to play 4 matchups here in a wrap-up. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.